Hi, I'm Ken Leibow, and today I want to start a new segment, personal video, called Celebrities, Unusual Encounters, and Near Misses. And here's a story I haven't told in a long time. My encounter with Diana Ross when I was 21 years old back in the 1980s. Um, so let me go ahead and tell you the story. First of all, the reason I'm doing this story now is because I just learned that tomorrow, March 26th, Diana Ross turns 80. So happy birthday, Diana Ross. Um, and you can see in my background, this is the Atlantic City Boardwalk, saltwater taffy from the 1980s. All right, let me give you a little bit of a backstory. In 1978, casino gambling became legal in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I grew up in South Jersey. And in the 1980s is when there was, I would say, the casino boom in Atlantic City. So that's when it was really getting hot and popular, and people were traveling all over the world to go to Atlantic City. It was kind of a big deal. And Steve Wynn, I think a lot of you have heard of Steve Wynn, like the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, billionaire that's owns and started a lot of casinos. Bought or built the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City, the Golden Nugget Casino, and I think it was the most profitable casino in the early '80s. And one of the things that Steve Wynn did was that he lured away Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Diana Ross from Resorts International in 1983 and contracted them. And because really Frank Sinatra, even though he was older, was still considered, the king of casino entertainment. And Diana Ross was considered the queen. So it was a big deal. So that's 1983. Now we're going to jump forward a couple of years to 1985. And as you can see here, in August of that year, Diana Ross was scheduled to perform and performed the week of August 20th, that week, for several nights at the Golden Nugget. So my story and how we connected or met, let me tell you my story. Back in 1985, I was 21 years old and going to college part-time. At the same time, I was working a lot of different jobs at different times, but entry-level jobs, cook in restaurants, working at Radio Shacks, selling electronics and computers. A friend of mine who was a cook at a restaurant that I worked at had just gotten a job in Atlantic City. And he told me, he said, Kenny, look, um, you know, you're making like a little more than minimum wage here, but Atlantic City, if you're 21 and older, you can, there are tons of jobs now opening up and they're paying more than double minimum wage. They're paying really well, trying to get people and talent to work down there, and a lot of jobs are opening. And I said, wow, that's awesome. I need to see if I can find something because I wasn't making much money. I need to make some more money, even though I'm working a lot of hours. So what I did was I bought a newspaper. Yes, this is how you look for a job back in the 80s. You bought a newspaper, the Atlantic City Press or the Press, and went to the classified section and looked at the help wanted. And what you did was you would find different jobs, and you would either call them up, or go down to the places and fill out a paper application, and hopefully they call you in for an interview, or and you get a job. So what I did was I circled a bunch of job opportunities I saw in the classified section, and I took a bus down to Atlantic City. My car was broken down, and I needed money to repair it, or I was between cars. Either way, I didn't have transportation at that moment, and I took a bus down to Atlantic City around midday and started applying for jobs. Unfortunately, I didn't get any job at all, so that didn't really pan out. But I needed a ride home, and asked my mother. I gave her a call, and she says, "Well, look, her best friend, who was I knew really well, and her kids we grew up with, was a legal secretary for the top attorney at the Golden Nugget Casino Hotel. And she agreed to give me a ride home, or a ride to her house, and then my mother would pick me up and then take me home. That was the plan. So, and she got off of work at 5 o'clock, typical 9 to 5 job. Okay. So me always being early, and because I was unsure of the location, there was no GPS back then. I was asking around. I had the address because I knew where the casino was, but I wasn't sure where or which building or which floor, exactly what the entryway was. I figured it out, asked a couple people, got in, got up to the top floor there, and they told me to wait in the conference room. So the conference room looked something like this. It was a dark brown type conference room, like a boardroom. It was huge. And this isn't the picture of the conference room. This is just to give you perspective on what it kind of felt like and looked like. They closed the door, and I just waited there. Now, I did not sit down. I just stood up and waited. I was, and on the wall was this giant picture covering almost this entire wall, of Diana Ross, and kind of like a portrait type thing covering this whole wall. So all I did was stare at it for about 15 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden I hear voices, people walking down the hall, and in the room, and then the door opened and entered two guys in a suit and Diana Ross, and I was in shock. And when she came up to me, she asked me who I was, and I told her my name was Kenny. I was very, very tongue-tied, just totally in shock, because here I was. Of course, she's a legend, and everyone, knew her, how famous she was. But I was staring at her picture for 15 minutes because nothing else to do, just waiting. And then here she was. Now, you saw the pictures of me. This is what I look like. Here's pictures of me, what I looked like back then. Me as a teenager. Then when I was 17, 18, went through the perm phase, and around 23 or 22, I kind of went through the mullet phase. And so it was somewhere between those two. But I looked really young, probably weighed about 120 pounds, and was, very young, always looked very young for my age at that time. And so she just started asking me some just personal questions about, am I going to school, and how old am I, and about my parents and family, etc., etc. Just personal stuff. I didn't ask anything. I was just so tongue-tied and in shock that I just answered her questions. I don't remember all the questions she asked me, but this went on for at least about 10, 12 minutes. Probably, it felt like it went on for an hour, but it was only about 10, 12 minutes. Finally, the attorney walked in, and some other people walked in. They told me to go out, and then I got my ride and I went home. But that was my experience. That was my encounter. It was amazing, unbelievable. She was super, super nice. Again, treated me like a child, like she was motherly type, in the way she was talking to me, like I was a little kid. But it doesn't matter. It was fine. It was just an unbelievable experience. Always remember it. No, I had no cell phone. Wasn't able to take a picture or do a selfie or anything like that. You found it entertaining. It was super cool as far as I'm concerned. And if I get enough views, I've got many other stories of strange encounters or near misses with celebrities throughout my life. Thank you.